Hi there, this is author Ronan Beckman, author of An Actress of Repute, and I'm on the trail of Elizabeth Searle. This is the area that she used to live in. This is lovely Bloomsbury Square, and she just lived around the corner there, about 3 houses down. In the book, in chapter 1, I describe a little bit about her childhood and how she used to go to the British Museum, which was up here, and sometimes play right here in the garden. I wanted to read a little excerpt because a lot of people say I should do a reading. I find that a little bit daunting and a bit scary, but I found a little passage that I'm comfortable reading to you, and it's in the very beginning of the book pretty much, and it's describing Elizabeth's house in Hart Street and the neighborhood that she lives in. Our dwelling on Hart Street was a handsome brick town house equidistant from Bloomsbury Square and the British Museum, with 3 large sash windows facing the street on each of the 4 floors. Light and sound would stream in from the road outside. The Duke of Bedford went to great lengths to prevent traffic, so the area had a rather peaceful air about it. The neighborhood was occupied mainly by professionals, solicitors and surgeons, with a few merchantmen sprinkled through. We were most fortunate to be renting the house at a reduced rate as a favor from a connection of my father's Aunt Harriet. 2 doors away was the grand, brilliant white spire of St. George's. There was many a time as a child that I would stand staring at the Grecian porticos of the church, transporting my thoughts, I'm rather ashamed to say, to the gods of mythology, rather than to the faith that the building was actually intended. Peculiar in having the main spire located to the side of the church, rather to the front or the back, it was an inspiring setting to set my imagination free. The statuary on top of the tower particularly sparked my imagination as I ran up the steps and played between the great columns of the porch. I would find myself dreaming of riding on the unicorn's back, escaping the fearsome lion, baring his gruesome teeth at me. And I would curtsy to the old King George staring down at me from the very tip of the pyramid-shaped apex, then proceed to perform the latest dance steps that Papa so lovingly taught me, oblivious to my surroundings and the bemused stares from passers-by. I had fond memories of pretending to be a grand lady prancing in front of Montague House as learned men made their way to the great library and museum to pursue their studies. In my mind, they were my footmen and servants, scurrying about to fulfill my latest whims and requests. I took note of all the grand carriages with their fine horses, considering most earnestly which was to be mine. The gardens of nearby Bloomsbury Square afforded me the window to the natural world. Looking skyward towards the stretching branches of the trees, I could temporarily forget the ring of exceptionally fine terraced houses that surrounded me, and imagine myself in the midst of an enchanted forest. I had many freedoms as a child, and the realities of the world of responsible adulthood were now facing me in a most fearsome way. And soon I would no longer have recourse to the magical unicorn of St. George's steeple galloping to my rescue. I looked to little 6-year-old Tom seated before me, rolling bits of his bread into cannonballs and firing them into his mouth. I gave him a look of warning, glancing towards my distracted parents to ensure that he escaped censure this time, and deep inside I found myself envying his youth.